Hey! Fucking hey, man. Glad to see you guys. You guys are fucking patriots. Look at this guy. He's got covered in blood. God bless you.
Yes.
You good, sir? Do you need medical attention?
I'm good, thank you.
All right.
I got shot in the face. Where are they?
This is the
I got shot
insurrection.
in the face with some kind of plastic bullet.
Any chance I could get you guys to leave the Senate wing?
We will. I've been making sure they ain't disrespecting the place.
Okay, just want to let you guys know this is like the sacredest place.
I know.
Sacred. I made a joke about this.
man.
This is Jacob Angeli, the guy who was jailed for... Hold on. Why do I hear this? Oh, son of a gun. Hold on one second. I've got this playing somewhere in the background. Oh, hold on. I hear myself somewhere in the background. Nope, that's not it. Okay, look, I haven't done this in a while. Okay, so it's not here. I'm going to close this down. I still hear myself as I'm talking. I hear double Viva. This is it right here. Found it. Okay, good. Oh, that's better. Gosh. Good evening, everybody. I'm looking at myself. I don't think I'm too shiny. I haven't put on powder, so my forehead looks like it's glistening a little bit. Sound is good. No, sound is good. It wasn't that the sound wasn't good. It's that I had an open screen somewhere in the back that was playing the stream in real time, and I could hear it through my headphones. So, look, everyone's going to be a little disappointed, maybe. Although maybe you're going to stick around and listen to this interview, which is going to be mind-blowing because I don't think people know what's going on in Canada. Barnes is traveling tonight. So the Sunday Viva and Barnes Law for the People is going to be on a Monday. It's like Taco Tuesday on a Thursday. Barnes is going to be here tomorrow night. We're going to have our show. We got all our topics lined up. It's going to be amazing. I say I'm not postponing the Sunday show. We got to keep this routine. For those who have a wonderful routine, I have an expression that humans are creatures of habit that get bored by routine. But when it comes to certain things, routines are good. The Sunday show, everybody knows, 1,800 hours, and you'll get your dose of law. Barnes is traveling, so I said I'm going to find an amazing guest to talk about something that is of particular interest, one of two ongoing trials in Canada, and we're going to do it. The man's name is Donald Best, and they say nomen is omen, so there's something in a name. We've got Best and Freedom on the show tonight. And it's going to be amazing because there's a disciplinary hearing going on in Canada for an investigator who was investigating SIDS and apparently took her investigation in places that, I don't know if she's with I think she's with the RCMP, but she took her investigation in areas where the powers that be didn't like it and decided to sanction her and discipline her for the manner in which she was conducting her investigations. We'll get to that on Rumble. And what else? We're going to talk about the Coutts 4. Because this man, Donald Best, is also following the Coutts 4 trial and the developments there. So this is going to be a Canadian-centric show tonight. And if you don't know who Donald Best is, you're going to know and you're going to love it after this. I'm glad you have Donald on. It's terrible what's happening with this detective. That's Detective Helen Grus. Before we get there, you may have noticed, as I'm sure you did, it said this stream, this episode, contains a paid sponsorship. And it does. And it's fieldofgreens.com. We're going to talk health tonight, and everybody should be very familiar and aware of what it means to be healthy. Don't have bad habits, exercise, sunlight, vitamin D, especially in the winter season. Fruits and vegetables, you are supposed to have between 5 and 7 servings of raw fruits and vegetables daily. Most people do not have that. I do, but I also have this wonderful thing called Field of Greens. A healthy habit, twice a day, 1 spoonful. Gives you all the antioxidants, nutrients that you need. 1 spoonful is a serving of fruits and vegetables with all of the good stuff. Twice a day, you get 2 servings of fruits and vegetables if you do that. It is not a supplement. It is not an extract. It is desiccated greens, pulverized fruits and vegetables, all of the antioxidant, beautiful stuff, USDA organic, because it's a food. It is USDA approved, made in America, tastes delicious. If you can actually believe it, because it looks like swamp water, but the whole thing is that swamp water is rich in nutrients. It is the source of life. This stuff is healthy. It's a good habit. It's actually refreshing. It's got all the stuff your body needs. Twice a day, get rid of those disgusting diet soft drinks. They're not good for you. Don't do the disgusting energy drinks. This is what you need. Fieldofgreens.com. It'll bring you to Brickhouse Nutrition. Promo code VIVA will get you 15% off your first order. The link is in the description. I've got 2 flavors. The lemongrass is actually the one I have in my cupboard right now, and it's delicious. So thank you, and shout out to our sponsors. Fieldofgreens.com. Promo code VIVA, 15% off your first order. Now, link in the description. We're not going to wait much more time before bringing in our guest. And for those of you who don't know, let me do some standard disclaimers. No medical advice, no election fortification advice, no legal advice. These things here that we see, super chats, Rumble rants over on Rumble, YouTube takes 30% of that. If you don't like it, go watch on Rumble. I hope I pinned the link. I'll share the link afterwards if I don't. We're going to end after Donald Best does his intro, tells us who he is, and we're going to have an open, candid discussion about what's going on in the court systems in Canada. Because you never know, you can't have it on the platform that censors, deplatforms, labels medical misinformation, advice and opinions of actual licensed medical practitioners, medical professionals, but YouTube knows better. Big Brother knows best, and I love Big Brother. So we're going to end on YouTube and go over to Rumble. And then after that, we are going to do the after show on Locals, vivabarneslaw.locals.com, where I'm going to answer the question, answer the tips, talk to the chat, and the link to that is over here. Now, without further ado, the man of the hour, the guest of the evening, Donald Best, who's going to tell us who he is, what he's doing here, and what he's doing in Canada, because the man is interesting. All right, Donald, let's rock this. Sir,
well, good evening, Viva. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing, sir, up in cold communist Canada?
Cold communist Canada. Thank you very much. We're a little bit punch drunk. I mean, we spent a week at this hearing for Detective Helen Grus, Ottawa Police Detective Helen Grus. She's charged with a provincial offense of discreditable conduct for having the temerity, sarcasm insert, to wonder, is there a connection, a potential connection between the new mRNA vaccines and the sudden unexpected deaths of breastfeeding infants? That's what she wondered.
Hold on, Donald. Before we even get there, who are you?
Well, I'm Donald Best. I was born in Hamilton, Ontario, son of a mechanic. And at 21 years old, I signed on to the Toronto Police, became a motorcycle cop. I was only going to spend a couple of years doing that, just until I found my way into something I really liked. But I really liked it. I loved law enforcement. I loved intelligence work, and from riding a motorcycle, I launched a career that saw me go undercover against organized crime, investigate corrupt police officers, judges, crown attorneys. And then I did that and work with various intelligence agencies in Canada, and I mean alongside them on joint projects, including the precursor to CSIS, the RCMP Security Service. And then I went on to, after 15 years of doing that, I found that I had to leave. Essentially, I loved my work. I was doing well. I was at that time the staff investigator for the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police, sergeant, detective. But I found myself with 3 teenagers and no wife, and you cannot work night shift and raise a family. So I had to do that. And then I ended up founding a private investigation agency, and I found I was doing the exact same work I was doing as a police officer. When my children grew up a little bit, I was infiltrating organized crime. My work took me all around the world, virtually every continent. I ended up dealing with many very serious crimes. Frauds that were where what was at stake was $1 billion, and there were millions of documents, and that's the level that I operated at. And it was all very interesting. And, I spent 63 days in prison, every day in solitary confinement, after being convicted of contempt of court in a civil hearing, and based on fabricated evidence. I'm vindicated. I'm thoroughly vindicated. But I spent 63 days in prison, every day in solitary confinement, before I was vindicated.
So let me ask you this, just back it up a little bit. 15 years plus with, is it the RCMP or is it?
No, that was Toronto Police.
Toronto Police.
Toronto Police, yes.
Investigations. Let me just ask you this for the sake of it. Unblemished record, untarnished record as a civil servant?
Award-winning, yes.
Okay. So this is now, for those who have the slightest understanding of who you are, I see not your claim to fame by any means. You made the news because you spent 63 days in solitary confinement, from what I understand, on a contempt conviction ex parte. But this could be the subject of an entire episode on its own. But
it could.
It's tough. Like, well, look, we've got two current stuff, cases to get into. But summarily, what was this lawsuit that was going on that saw you convicted of contempt of court and then put in jail? Like, just briefly the context.
All right. The case involved an estate in the country of Barbados and a fraud, money laundering major that happened internationally. And what was at stake was about $1 billion US. I became involved in investigating that. My company launched a lawsuit in Canada concerning that. And the end result was that in Florida, years later, just 2 years ago, we won. And my clients ended up with the largest civil RICO judgment in the state's history, $269 million. And that was all my work. And that was part of the case where I went to prison with. But what happened is simply this. 2009, I'm traveling in Asia. I heard that I was supposed to attend for disclosure, and just normal disclosure, Viva, in a civil case. But I heard about it the day before. I had phoned the court, had not received any court order. But the lawyers who were involved on the other side, don't forget, there's $1 billion at stake. They signed an affidavit that I had been personally served with that court order.
But let me just stop there. You're the plaintiff in this lawsuit?
I'm the plaintiff in this lawsuit,
Your
yes.
company, which is the investigative company, has filed a suit. And what was the nature of the suit that you filed? And
the nature of the suit was I had a very small piece of that estate that was at stake. At stake was $1 billion, and more specifically, the client had $130 million, $150 million that they had a stake in, and I had part of that, a very small. So when I found that the level of corruption, and this is all documented on my website, and in fact, the U.S. court documented all the government corruption and court corruption in Barbados as part of that lawsuit and the awards that they gave. But when I found that, I knew that I couldn't launch a lawsuit in Barbados. The Chief Justice was one of the ones involved down there who had stolen, defrauded this little old lady of this $130 million US. So I launched it in Canada. And the courts up here said, nice try. That's not the venue for it. We understand what's happening. So there was a cost hearing. I'm traveling in Asia. So I phone up the place where I'm supposed to be deposed, and I say, I'm here. And they say, did you get the order? I said, no, 12 times. I said, send it to me. They asked me some questions. They refused to get a court reporter in, these Ontario lawyers. And then they hung up. But the phone didn't hang up, and I kept recording. Yes, I recorded everything. And they discussed how they were going to falsify evidence, fake exhibits, tell the court a lie. And they did so without telling me in a secret hearing. I was convicted in absentia, sentenced to 3 months in prison. I figured I'd just come back with my recordings and everything would be okay. Should be okay, right, Viva? I just play the recordings for the court. They understand that the lawyers have committed perjury, and they lock up the lawyers and set me free. Does that sound like it should have happened? But it didn't. They refused to allow, the judge and all courts refused to hear my new evidence, refused to admit the recordings. They all listened to it in the back room, of course, but they refused to admit to it. I went to jail years later. Former commissioner of the Ontario Provincial Police, a couple of years later, found out what was happening, did an investigation, testified on my behalf, swore an affidavit. It's all online at my website, donaldbest.ca, wherein the commissioner of the OPP said that A, one of his staff sergeants, detective staff sergeant, had accepted a bribe from the lawyers. B, the lawyers fabricated evidence and testified against me. They perjured themselves. And C, the judge was in on it too. That's what the commissioner of the OPP said. I'm vindicated, but once again, I had to do 63 days in solitary. It's the only way they could keep me alive in prison as an ex-cop.
I understand now. Okay. And when you say it's on the cost hearing, that's to say then that the case was dismissed in Canada, and so you had to pay some costs.
Right.
And they have a cost. Okay. And so you don't show up for the cost hearing. Okay. And then, so they send you to jail on contempt for 3 months, and they put you in solitary because you're an ex-investigator who's put a lot of people in jail who's probably in jail that would like to shank you. Not thank you, but shank you.
That's right.
And okay, let me ask you this. I mean, it's the same question I asked, when I had one of the January 6ers on. I said, you go to solitary. 63 days is enough to irreparably break a human being.
It is torture. It's absolute torture. I did it in 2 periods because of what happened, 30 days and 33 days, something like that, with an appeal in between that was disallowed. Long story. Not going to get into it here. But yes, it is torture. They kept the lights on 24 hours a day. I watched men eat their own feces, run against their door 1,000 times until they knock themselves out, fall down, bust their teeth in, and then do it again. And that's what solitary is all about. It's torture. Now, look, I'm a very stable person. I'm a big guy. I have my family and my friends waiting for me. I have my God. I have my faith, my prayer. But many of these poor people, they're just at the end, and they have nobody. And yes, there are some very bad people there. I mean, there are signs over every cell: suicide or biter, 2 guards, leg irons, mouth protection. I mean, this is signs over, who all my friends are. And when mealtime came, the slots would go down and everybody would get down on their hands and knees and try and talk to each other and encourage each other. And I mean, we're really talking people who are at the end here. They really are. And it is torture. Noise all the time, lights on in the cells all the time, a concrete bed with a 1-inch foam mattress. And this is your life. That's the way it is. I came out changed, not because I was, irreparably damaged or anything, but I just came out changed. My opinions of everything and of I guess an appreciation of my fellow man, even these terribly evil people. Some of them, they're still human beings, and we torture them every day because of where we put them and how they're treated. And they react like that, which makes me think of these poor guys, these 4 Coutts. They've been in remand, which is not prison. Remand is terrible. They've been in remand now for 630 days or something like that, and almost 2 years, coming up on it. And they've been in solitary too. I have had no personal contact with them, but I've spoken with with some who have, and it's tough. Some of them are not doing well, and they are political prisoners, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, no, and I've spoken with a number of them. They called me when they have their prison calls, and I say faith and belief in something bigger than us can only take you so far. They sounded good, but that was that wasn't yesterday. It was a little while ago. Okay, now let me ask you this before I forget. You didn't get any compensation settlement payment out of it, from the government, not a $10 million like they sent to other people to compensate them for their torture?
Had I been a Muslim terrorist, I'm sure I would have been better treated. No, $10 million from Premier or Prime Minister Blackface. Yeah.
All right, now with that said, with that YouTube, we go over to Rumble. I'll give someone said my mic was low, but I'll bring it closer to my face. I'm going to copy the link one more time, give it to everybody. Come on over to Rumble, and then we'll talk locals afterwards. There it is, ending on YouTube in 3, 2, 1. Now, also for all those who are watching afterwards, the link is pinned up there, so you can come after if you're watching late. Okay, on to the free speech platform.